Good morning, guys. I woke up to about 11 degrees today. It was like 9 yesterday, but it's 40 now. And here in the greenhouse, it's almost 60 already. It feels good in here and downright warm. I want to show you kind of one of the things we're doing with the downtime in the cold. This ebb and flow bed's been emptied out to about, maybe left maybe 10-15% of the rock in it. So it's light enough now. What we're going to do is we're going to relocate it so it's this way so we can access the back, because you can see these things are bigger than I think people realize. And I'm standing up on a 2-foot platform, and it is all but impossible without climbing further up to be able to do any kind of work back there. So we tried to stack this with as many beds as possible. It's really more than we can effectively use, and there's no reason to have something you can't use. So it's going to flip around. I have my farm head completely empty, the one that was sitting here. We could move it right away now that he's got it this light, but I've decided to wait. It's been too cold to work, even in here, for me anyway. And I've been really busy too. So what I want to do is I want to reroute this piping up here. See this piping? Right now it comes down, and this is this one, and then that one's there, and that goes out. Just outside of there's a cutoff valve. And we shut that off to shut off all of the stuff going on down there in the aviary. It'd make a hell of a lot more sense for the shutoff valve for the water going out to be in this building, where, between just being in the building, the solar gain, and when it gets really, really cold, we run a little propane heater overnight to keep things from freezing. Because then we would never have to worry about that pipe breaking. You can see why we did it when we built it. Imagine trying to get up there back through this to shut that off. So I'm going to come up with some kind of routing scheme where maybe it looks a little funky and doubles back or something, but where I can shut it off and everything inside here will keep running, and but there'll be nothing going outside. And that'll help with some of the stuff I'm about to show you. Get down off here. Anyway, these things right here, they sell these at Home Depot and Lowe's. I think they're about 50 bucks. Man, these are one of the best working tools you can get. It's stable even on crappy ground. If you do fall, you're only going about 2 feet. Nice wide work surface, light, easy to move. Can't recommend them highly enough. I lost my coffee. I wonder where it went. I'll find it after I get done video, I guess. I was kind of thirsty. I don't know what I did with it. Anyway, we'll find it in a minute. Oh, there it is. Let me give it a sip here. What's up, girls? I want to show you the progress of the chuckling, i.e. the baby duck that thinks it's a chicken because it lives with the mommy chickens who hatched it. And you realize how much we pale in comparison to nature. When you realize it was 9 degrees yesterday, no brooder lamps, no nothing, and this little duck is running around, drinking water, eating, chasing, stuff that he thinks are bugs, because there's nothing out here for bugs except the dehydrated worms I give him. But this duck is fine. And it's not like they're constantly sheltering this little duck. They tell you, you can't let the duck go under 100 degrees for the first 3. This duck has been out and about since day 2, and we've had one of the worst cold snaps we've had in North Texas in a long time. And looking more at that pattern, I think this duck either has Silver Appleyard or Welsh Harlequin genetics, and that's what that pattern is. I've looked at its feet, and I do not think it's a Muscovy at all. And based on days to hatch, I really don't think it's a Muscovy either. I don't think they had those eggs for the 35 days it takes for a Muscovy, more like the 27 it takes for a regular duck. But I did not keep records, so I'm not 100% sure. So progress has been made in here. We've, if you look all the way down, all of the wicking beds have been redone with the more conventional stand-ups instead of the buried pipes. So down in there, I don't know if you can see, but there's a piece of pipe that sets the level of the wicking bed. And I'm trying to figure out now, do I even keep any deep water beds in here at all? And I'm starting to think maybe I don't, and I'll show you why. Even with draining the system, what has happened is the bulkhead, which I'm having trouble getting the camera for you. Bulkhead right there is weeping. And as it's frozen, it's gotten worse. When this all defrosts, I'm going to take a pair of channel locks and I'm going to see if I can just tighten that bulkhead up and if that'll prevent the leaking. The leaking is not coming from here, it's coming from the bulkhead itself on that ring. I may need to get inside there and get on both sides of it to tighten it. And guess what? This thing's full of like a rock base about that high up. So that all that rock would have to come out of there. I was thinking about cutting down to 2 deep water beds. But the truth is I have so much water on the property. I can grow so many more fish than I need to. I can grow more fish in there than I would ever need. And I probably need more fish in there for this system. And plus I've got the other tanks you guys have seen, and the big tank's going in right there. These wicking beds are just so productive. I'm thinking about mixing them all together. We kind of wanted to have one as a isolation tank. But if you think about it, when I shut this stuff off for the winter, if all that was in here was these wicking beds, there would be nothing that could break, nothing that could go wrong. And there's something for resiliency and stability, and not having your fish encased in ice. So it may very well become the case. I got a little leakage on that valve, but that's a dry fit, so it's no big deal. But you can see why this happens here. So we've drained out the return line. That's not a problem. But this right here is what sets the level inside these water tanks, which is why the fish aren't, you know, dried up and dead. But that means this water is still able to expand, you know, down here against that fitting. And again, it could be as simple as a couple turns and it stops leaking. We won't really know until it thaws out. It's not a heavy leak, because even with the freeze, it would have the water level a lot lower than it is. So I don't think we'll end up with fish flopping around on the gravel or nothing. But it's 40 degrees right now, and it's supposed to be 50 today. It's only going to go down to 29 tonight, so says the weather guesser anyway. And if that's the case, by tomorrow we should have all these thawed out, and I should be able to turn everything back on again, and we'll see what we can do with that. But my immediate plan, honestly, is to net these guys out. And I've got a tank in my metal pond system. It's got nothing in it but minnows, and goldfish and koi won't hurt minnows, and minnows won't hurt koi and goldfish. And it's a smaller tank. It's a 150-gallon galvanized tank. So when I want to take them out, because I'm growing these koi that are in here, because I want to put them in that system. That's going to be primarily a koi system, at least so they get big enough that I know they won't get beat up by bluegills. So I want to be able to get them out easily, and if I put them in those IBCs, net and koi in an IBC is tough, especially when they're little and still quite agile. Anyway, guys, the Chuckling is enjoying life. It'll be interesting to see whether we have a little duck or a little drake there. Our track record of hatching on the farm has been primarily drakes, and I believe it is because the birds can, to some degree, control what sex they're producing. And we keep our flock so weighted to females. I think they're making drakes on purpose, because we've had about a 9-to-1 ratio drakes to ducks, which is not what you're looking for productivity. But that's what we've had. Anyway, the girls are busy. The baby duck, whatever it is busy. I got work to do, a podcast to do. If you like what I do here on YouTube, check me out at thesurvivalpodcast.com for my audio podcast, the daily podcast. Listened to by over 150,000 people. If they like it, you might like it too. If you don't want to type a bunch of letters, you can get there just by going to tspc.co, tspc.co.